Welcome everyone again to this wonderful meeting of Tigertales Toastmasters. Just before we start, I have an announcement where, as per the Tigertales international guidelines, we have to switch on our cameras if there is no extreme situation where you can't switch it on for the meeting. So I would request all the members and any guests to please switch on their cameras. And to take us through this meeting, I would request our Toastmaster of the day, Ella Serra, to take us through this meeting. Ella Serra.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, Ajit. And welcome everyone to our weekly lovingly meeting. As for the theme of today, we have a pas de, which I believe is French. Like we human beings, we have our fingerprint, and not two same people have the same, which is extraordinarily amazing. The general structure of our meeting is we will have the prepared speech, we'll have a table topic, and the evaluating the speeches given prior to that. And we have functionaries to help us run the meeting smoothly. We will start with our timer, Matt Benedict.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As the timer today, I'll be keeping track of the time allotments that the various speakers, table topic speakers, and evaluators have requested. I'll be showing green, yellow, and red according to those time slots. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, timer. Our next functionary will be our counter, Gaurav.
Hello, thank you, Toastmaster. As an R counter, I will be monitoring the overused words such as and at the end, I will be providing a report. Thank you. Update Toastmaster.
Our last but not least, the functionary of tonight will be our grammarian, Xavier. Our grammarian, Xavier.
Xavier is muted.
Seems like they are frozen.
Yeah, his video is frozen too.
Okay, let's wait for our grammarian because our grammarian will tell us the word of the day and what he's all about.
To take advantage of the downtime, I don't know if this will come up later, but what are the times for the speeches today? They all 5 to 7 minutes?
I believe so. I didn't receive any notification of time changing. So I'm
Okay.
assuming every single speech will be from 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you.
Does anyone else know the word of the day and has prepared as a backup for grammarian?
Xavier's back.
Oh, okay, that's great. So our next functionary of tonight would be Xavier, the grammarian.
Thank you, Alistair. Just took a brief trip through space and time to land back here. But my role tonight is going to be to evaluate specifically what you're saying and how you're saying it, to see to both highlight for the club what good uses of phrases and wording that we have and how they connect, maybe like similes and metaphors and things of that sort, and also look for improvements as well to help us grow as a club and you as speakers as well. Additionally, we have the word of the day, which is splendor. It is a noun and it means great and impressive beauty. An example sentence: RIT's campus may not evoke splendor, but the community here makes it a place worth living. Back to you, Alistair.
Thank you, Organin. So to kick us the first part of tonight's meeting will be our first speaker, Matt. Evaluating Matt is Ajita. Ajita, please tell us about Matt's project.
Matt is working on level 3 of motivational strategies pathway and working on Inspire Your Audience project. When I asked Matt what should I be looking at during his speech, he said that I should look at the way he connects with the audience and the way he expresses his emotions, and also how well he uses this online space to share his stories with the audience. I'm looking forward to the speech, Matt. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ajita. So as of the theme of the meeting today, I asked Matt what is something unique about him. So his answer was that he has baby tooth. So the title of Matt's speech today is My Journey Towards Peace. My Journey Towards Peace, Matt.
Imagine back to when you were 14 years old and school just let out and summer is about to start. What in your imagination would have made that summer at age 14 a summer of splendor? If you're like most 14-year-olds, you think about things like ice cream cones or riding your bikes or lounging on the beach with friends. But for me, when I was 14 years old, this was my idea of an awesome summer. It might be backwards, but it says Matt's hectic summer schedule. This was what made me think summer was going to be great, to have lots of activities. And as you can see, I was going from running cross country to working 2 jobs to being part of the summer musical to the community theater program. The more, the better. Mr. Toastmaster, Toastmasters and friends, at a very young age, I set up for myself an addiction to busyness and productivity. And we can get into all the reasons why. Most of them are linked to insecurities about myself. But for me, the more that I could be a part of, the better it was. I had to do a lot to feel like I was successful. And what I want to talk to you tonight about is that addiction to productivity, but most importantly, how I have been journeying away from that and towards real peace inside of my heart. This addiction to productivity did not go away in my teenage years. When I was in college, I was a pre-med major and I had 3 minors, and I was in every club imaginable, including bagpipes. I would do anything to fill my time in college. In medical school, it got even worse. The very pace of medical school instilled in me even deeper. I had to do more. I had to accomplish more to be successful. It was relentless. But as I was going along, there were clues that this was not healthy and it was hurting me. So I can remember one time in college or in medical school, when I was in a rotation. I was on a 28-hour long rotation in trauma surgery. It was 2 in the morning. And there I was at this surgery holding these retractors, holding open this man's abdominal cavity while the resident and the attending surgeon fixed his intestines. And I was so tired. And my eyes shut and I lurched forward and I bumped the resident. And he wheeled around with his eyes wide open as if to say, "Are you crazy? I could have caused a bad outcome in this surgery by falling asleep." Later, a few years later in residency, when I was driving home from a 15-hour shift, I fell asleep at the wheel and careened right through a red light. And this Jeep smashed into the driver's side door. My car hit the embankment, and I climbed out of the passenger seat with blood running down my face. But I was grateful that I wasn't hurt worse. I began to get migraine headaches that affected my vision, and I couldn't see very well during them, and numb patches on my arms and my legs. Something had to change. But lucky for me, I met 3 guys who really helped me transition away from this addiction to productivity and towards peace in my heart. And they are Brendan, Preetham, and Matt. I met Brendan about 10 years ago, and you could say that when you look at us at age 14, Brendan was the opposite of who I was at age 14. Brendan doesn't do anything out of expectations. He only does what he is absolutely passionate about in his own heart. For example, I've been Brendan's roommate, and if Brendan's alarm starts going off in the morning and he doesn't want to wake up, he won't. That alarm will go off for about 15 minutes and he won't even turn it off. On the other hand, I have seen Brendan wholeheartedly caring about someone who is in his life and devote lots of time and energy to them. For example, we lived with an alcoholic man at one point, and Brendan spent lots of hours taking this guy places, listening to him, having very challenging conversations with him, and really making a difference in his life. Brendan helped me to find what my heart was really passionate about. He helped me discern between what's just an expectation and what am I truly passionate about in my heart. I met Preetham about 3 years ago here at Toastmasters. Preetham may be found at 7 in the morning, upside down in a headstand, meditating. Preetham brought into my life this practice of meditation. And at first I was a wreck at it. My concept of meditation was, for the first 2 minutes, I'll focus on the ambient noises around me. For the next 2 minutes, I'll do some progressive muscle relaxation. 2 minutes after that, I will have some guided imagery, followed by focusing on inspirational phrases. And if I don't get the right feelings, it'll be about a C- for the meditation. Preetham was very patient with me and has taught me a lot about what it means to create open space in my head and in my heart by being quiet. Meditation is so helpful for finding stillness, which I had to learn so that I could hear through all of the chaos in my head and in my heart every day. And now we meditate twice a week at Genesee Valley Park. I'm very grateful to Preetham for teaching me this. Matt Benedict is someone that I met 15 years ago, a very dear friend of mine. And in the beginning of our friendship, Matt said, "A friend is someone who understands your silence." My initial thought was, I'm supposed to have silence? But Matt has been very patient with me, and he has asked me very challenging questions, which have allowed me to look inside myself. And more importantly, when I've been forced to look at those hard things, he has stayed with me and shown me what it means to love me and taught me that I can love myself despite my own flaws. In conclusion, I think many of you very well might have an addiction to productivity. And my advice to you is draw upon those who are closest to you, because you may have a Brendan, a Preetham, or a Matt who can help lead you towards peace. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Matt, for sharing your story with us. Mr. Timer, may we have 1 minute to send a love letter to Matt? For guests, you may privately chat to Matt what you found interesting, what could be improved, and a summary of your observation insights to Matt.
That's 1 minute.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Dustin, and evaluating Dustin is Brandon. Brandon, tell us more about Dustin's speech.
Thank you, Alicera. Dustin is starting his innovative planning pathway, and this is his icebreaker. I think me, along with the rest of the club, we will be looking for what kind of speaker Dustin is and starting his journey and enjoying storytelling with him. I look forward to your speech, Dustin.
Thank you, Brandon. As Mac, I asked Dustin, what is it that is unique about him? He said that his thirst for knowledge is really unique to him. Dustin, my trailer, Dustin. You are muted.
Sorry. I read a quote online last time on the internet that said, I wish people had a 30-second trailer so I could see what am I getting myself into. I found that very interesting. Tonight, I am very pleased to have more than 30 seconds to give you a trailer of myself. Who am I? What am I? And what drives me in life? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Who am I? My last name is Bukoho Mungabu. It is in Bembe, one of the several languages spoken in my country, the Republic of the Congo, and it means wise man. My first name is Destin in French, which obviously means destiny. And my middle name is Kellyan. Actually, my parents were expecting a girl that they would name Kelly, but instead I showed up. I am the third kid of a family of 4 children. I lost my big brother 20 years ago. I left with my elder sister and my younger brother. My father is a retired soldier. He served in the Air Force Army of my country. And my mother is a teacher for kids with special needs. I am also an uncle. I have a wonderful nephew who is actually my best friend. What am I? I consider myself like someone who is really fascinated by everything about science and engineering, which explains why I studied physics and chemistry for my undergrads Then I went to an engineering college where I majored in mechanical engineering, and hopefully next year, I will be graduating as an industrial engineer. Before coming to the United States, I was teaching in high school. This was the most wonderful experience I've ever had in my life. Sharing knowledge with kids and teenagers and learning back from them is something very priceless. I am a reader. I read a lot. I have two favorite writers. The first one is Jules Verne. He wrote Journey to the Center of the Earth, Around the World in 80 Days, 20 miles, 20 Leagues Under the Sea. The second one is Alexandre Dumas, who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo. I am also an amateur of music. My favorite instrument is the piano, which I am currently learning to play. What drives me in life? I consider myself as an optimist dreamer. Yes, dreams are the first thing that drives me in life. For some people, I would be a utopian thinker because I dream of a perfect world, a world of splendor, a world where there's no poverty, a world without violence, a world without hunger, and a world of peace, of fully peace. The second thing that drives me in life is the satisfaction of a well-done job. I look myself as a perfectionist. I mentioned earlier that I was a teacher. And one thing that would amaze me all the time was when I was grading my student paper. Seeing their work and seeing their grade made me so proud of myself and so proud of them. When I have a task to complete, if I complete it before the deadline, I will spend the rest of the time perfecting it. This is how I used to work. The last but not least thing that drives me in life is love. I do care a lot for people. Being useful to someone, helping them in one way or another is something that adds some value in my life, that adds a meaning, a sense to my life. In my country, there are a lot of abandoned children that wander in the streets. And when I met one of them, I would take him into a store and buy him some food. I do have weaknesses. The top one of them is undoubtedly my shyness. You might not see it from your screen, but I am really struggling right now while delivering this speech. This weakness and these things that drives me in life are the reason why I decided to join this club. Not only do I want to overcome my shyness and be a good public speaker, but also I want to develop some personal skills that will help me to reach my goals in life and in my job. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, this was my trailer. Thank you.
As you can see, as a tradition of the Toastmaster, when a speaker gives his or her first speech, we all give him or the person a standing ovation. So please, let's thank Justin for his first speech. Timer. May we please have a minute to send a love note to Justin? Thank you.
That's 1 minute.
Thank you. Our last but not least speaker of tonight for the prepared speech section will be Tanay. And evaluating Tanay is Grant. Grant, please tell us more about Tanay's project for tonight.
Tanay is doing his visionary communicator pathway, and he's currently on a project in the level 2 category. The project he's working on now is understanding your communication style. The purpose of that project is for Tanay to learn about the different communication styles and to identify his primary style. Or the purpose of the project is for Tanay to share the impact of his or her style on others. And so with that being said, I look forward to hearing about Tanay's communication styles, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Grant. As all the two previous speakers, I asked Tanay, what is it that is unique about you, Tanay? And his answer, it is because there is nothing unique about me. That's what is unique about me. And I was really surprised to hear that. So after Bastion's trailer, get ready for Tanay's. Is it really though? Tanay, is it really though?
Good evening, good evening, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. Yesterday was the first time in months that I had checked my pathways. I had been giving speeches without even checking them, and I thought maybe it's time to follow the rules. So I went on the pathways and I saw that my next project was about understanding my communication style. And I didn't really know what my communication style was. So the good thing about pathways is it had some questionnaires, and I filled out those questionnaires, and it said that my communication style is supportive. I wondered, is it really though? I never thought that my communication style would be considered supportive. That was a question that I had to ask myself for quite some time. See, I'm a skeptic about everything, and I don't believe that few questionnaires can describe the kind of person you are. I thought about this for a while, wondered whether I really have a supportive communication style. So I went inside my memory palace and I tried to remember all the conversations that I had with my friends and family. Well, there was a one time when my friend said he wanted a pet duck, and I was supportive about that. The other time when my sister freaked out about her memory loss due to magnets, and I was supportive about that. And finally, when I was craving a pizza after 1 week of keto diet, and I was supportive to myself during that time. So yeah, I would say that it is my communication style. But to be honest, since I didn't believe it, I had to ask a few people that know me whether this is true or not. And I asked a few people that I know, and I didn't expect to get honest answers, but I did. One of my best friends told me that when he first got a job in a new city, he was not ready and was scared of the unknown place, the new culture, everything. He called me one day being worried about it. And during that call, I helped him convince that he is more than ready to start his work and move forward in life. Today, he is happy with his job and gets consistent recognition at his work. I asked my sister the same question, and she said to me that she had dropped out of the design school because she was unsure about it. So she called me that day, and she was feeling lost, and talking to me helped her make a future decisions. She said I believed in her when no one else did. I asked one of the Toastmasters, Chitra, the same question, since we had worked together for more than a year in the e-board. And she said that when she stepped in as the president, she was nervous. And I told her about my story and how I felt when I stepped in as the president. And she also told me that I offered her help for smooth functioning of the role. So that was very helpful of me. That's what she said. Yes, now I finally got all the validation that are required for this month. But you know what? I was not always this person. My communication style was not always this supportive. I always had a guard up for almost 90% of my life, because as a kid, I used to get teased a lot and I would get angry, and due to my reaction, I would get teased more. And eventually, I fell into this trap of thinking that everybody was against me. I used to think that people being nice to me is because they want to get to know me before they could start ridiculing me. I know it sounds irrational, but I had dealt with this irrationality for a long time. But as I grew older and I got this beard and some white hairs, I became more free of that thinking. I started not caring about what other people were thinking. I realized that most people I meet are going through the same problems or different problems. Everyone has some struggles in their life, and just being myself for once might help me. I decided to be like Eminem from 8 Mile, where in the last rap battle he raps about his problems, where there was nothing the other guy could say that could hurt him. I decided to be a little vulnerable like that. Unlike Eminem, I just said it out in a normal way instead of rapping. But in all seriousness, being supportive communicator means being calm, steady, approachable, sincere, and gentle. And I'm sure I am some of that, if not all. I, I felt I was approachable when I talked about my fear in front of hundreds of people. And after my speech, a few of them came directly towards me when I was getting down on the stage. And one guy didn't even let me get on the stage. He just climbed the stage and told me how my speech helped him realize that it is possible to change. That felt different. That felt nice. It felt comforting that I could have such an impact with communicating with others by being vulnerable. I was vulnerable on the stage, and people felt that they could be vulnerable with me. My relationship with my friends and my siblings have become stronger than ever in the past few years, and it has been because I was willing to let my guard down and be vulnerable. And I guess that was the main takeaway from me and my experiences as trying to connect with people. We have this, as trying to connect with people, we have these guards that we build around ourselves and that sometimes are impenetrable. We try to shield ourselves from others in order to not look weak. And we do have genuine reasons for it, right? In order to not get hurt by others. But sometimes it's worth it to take your guard down. By being vulnerable and comforting, people trusted me more and were willing to share their heart out. And I genuinely believe that being more vulnerable like this can help make relationships grow strong. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tanay. And we are glad that you found out that it was for real. Mr. Timer, may we have a minute to send a love letter to Tanay? Thank you.
That's 1 minute.
Thank you. That concludes the first part of our meeting tonight. We'll dive into the second part of our meeting, which will be led by Cyril. But before passing it to Cyril, I asked Cyril, I said, Cyril, what is unique about you? He said that he believes that his creativity and imagination makes him unique, and how he was able to leverage them in all the endeavors that he got the opportunity to engage himself with in his teamwork. With that, let's welcome Cyril.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. This is my favorite part at Toastmaster. It's my favorite part because I fear it. And what I've learned is that whenever you fear something, this is an opportunity to grow. So I learned to embrace it. And I wanted to invite all of you to like stand up, volunteer, and answer some of the questions that I have prepared for you today, especially our new members and guests. So to help us through this session, we have the timer. Mr. Timer, can you remind us the rules for the time?
Sure can. Each table topic speaker is encouraged to speak for a minimum of 1 minute. You'll see the green light. At 1 minute, 30 seconds, you'll see yellow, and start to wrap up at 2 minutes when you see the red.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. And also, every speaker will be invited to use the word of the day. And to remind us of the word of the day, I would like to invite the grammarian. Mr. Grammarian.
Thank you, Cyril. Reminder, every table topic speech to qualify has to use the word of the day, which is splendor, and it means great and impressive beauty. An example sentence is a presentations. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grammarian. So I would like to invite all of you to use the word of the day, and you will be qualified to win a virtual chocolate. Hopefully you will receive it. So let's move on to the questions. The very first question, who would like to go? Okay, Pritam. So this is the question. What is your favorite place? How would you describe it?
I think the favorite place and how would I describe it? Everybody heard about my favorite place from Matt's speech. Matt talked about how meditation helped him to find open spaces in his mind and heart. I mean, I have never heard a better definition of meditation. And that is my favorite space, the open spaces in my mind and heart. And the way I describe it is silence. Why that is my favorite place is because when I go into that silence, it helps me become so still. After I come out of that silence, I'm able to listen and act on everything that I'm hearing. I'm able to act when my wife tells me, what would you like to eat tomorrow? Now I always have an answer ready. Because I was able to listen one day that she asked me, what would you like to eat tomorrow? And I said, I don't know. From that time, she gave me an expression after which I never dared not to listen to her questions. So that is why that is my favorite place, the open spaces inside our mind and heart. It's a place filled with splendor. That is the word I heard Xavier using. So back to you, Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Pritam. Now let's move on to the second question. And for this second question, I would need a volunteer. I see a lot of new faces today. Oh, I see a hand here. Okay. Oh, that's Deb. Okay. All right, Deb. This is the question. I hope I give you a question as hard as the one that you asked me last time. But here we go. If you ever have to share something valuable with someone, what will it be?
So, Mr. Table Topic Masters, fellow Toastmasters, if I had to share something that was truly valuable to me, I think that would be where I draw my strength and my encouragement from. I hope it's not unknown that I do have a faith. So I would hope that a treasure that I could share is where that comes from and where that strength and encouragement and motivation comes from to keep going every day. Especially days like the last few months that have been just 2020. It's going to be a term, so 2020. It's not going to be a term that represents splendor. It's going to be a term that I think we all look back on and just want to forget about 2020. But I think when we step back and ask ourselves why we keep doing the things we do, why we get up, we go to work, we quarantine, we keep meeting on Zoom, which, you know, is not always our favorite way of doing things. Just all of the ways in which we've had to adjust and change. Something to share would be where I find that joy and encouragement and motivation to keep going every day, because I know my higher power wishes us to continue to be kind to each other, that is blessing that I give to others. So thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Deb. So we have a third question. Oh, first, Mr. Timer, do we still have enough time for a third question? Oh, yeah. So who would like to go? Nobody? Oh, Alex. Okay. So Alex, one place I really dream to visit one day in my life is London. Of course, I want to also visit China, but in London, I have so many friends over there, and it's for me like a place of history, because I really enjoy my industrial revolution course back in high school. So is there any place that you are dreaming to visit sometimes in your life? If yes, what is this place?
So I think the place that I am most wanting to visit it's a place, but it's also a place with a person. Corey grew up all up and down the West Coast. He was born in Los Angeles. He spent time in San Diego. He spent a lot of time in San Francisco and lived in Portland for a long time, had a diner there. And to go up the West Coast with Corey, once he gets his kidney transplant and he's able to travel again, to be able to go up the West Coast, up that Pacific Coast Highway, and see the splendor of that mix of ocean and mountains and desert, the splendor of that landscape on a road trip with him, stopping by each of these cities and tasting the food and getting to see how it's changed and how it's still the same, that would be a dream trip for me, to be able to get out there with Corey, obviously once he's able to travel again. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Alex. So we still have a few questions. Mr. Timer, do we still have time for another one? No. Okay. All right, so this is all for my questions. Mr. Grammarian, do everybody qualify for the table topic today?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Timer? Okay, so what we will do is at some point we're gonna vote the speakers of the table topic today, and I'm done with my part. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Cyril, for this terrific table topics section. And please do not forget to vote. Last but not least, now we are entering the third section of our tonight's meeting, which is the evaluation part. And leading us in the evaluation section is Hassan. And as all the previous speakers and functionaries, I asked Hassan, I said, what is it that is unique about you, Hassan? And I was not ready for the answer that he was going to give. He said that he was named by mistake. So he took his twin brother's name instead of his own name, which I found was wow. Leading us in the evaluation session is Hassan. Let's welcome Hassan.
Thank you very much, Alasira, for the introduction. I would like to say not only I was given my name by mistake, but I also like Justine. My mom was expecting two girls actually. So my role as a general evaluator today is first to introduce the speakers, the evaluator for the speakers. Second one is call upon the evaluationaries for their respective reports. And finally, I will give my feedback about the meeting, overall evaluation about the meeting. Before I call upon the first speaker, I would like to ask the timer, Matt, to give us the guidelines for the evaluations.
Certainly, Mr. General Evaluator. The speech evaluators are asked to speak for at least 2 minutes when they'll see the green, at 2.5 minutes, yellow, and start wrapping up at 3 minutes, where you'll see red, and you'll have 30 seconds to finish up your evaluation.
Thank you very much. Our first speaker was Matt, and his evaluator is Ajita, who is our sergeant at arms, even though she's not a roadcaster. So I would like now to call upon Ajita for her report, for her evaluation.
Thank you, Hassan. I apologize if my network breaks in between beforehand. It has been a bit crappy today. Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Matt, thank you for sharing your wonderful journey into peace with all of us. For your speech, I observed that you followed rule of 3 in multiple places. Maybe not in terms of word, but in terms of phases. Your entire speech was drafted in three phases. The first one being where you were very busy and full of excitement and wanted to stick to schedule all the time. The second one being realizing the disadvantages or realizing how it affected your own health or affected you in different ways. And the third phase being how you got out of it and experienced a different life. So that was a rule of 3 for me. And another rule of 3 was you took 3 different persons, took their example, took certain things from their life which affected you, which not necessarily they shared with you, but you observed those things and you took the learning out of it and shared with us in a wonderful way how they affected your life and how you were able to achieve your peace. One thing which you could have used this virtual space more effectively would have been to stand here, here, and here. That would have given a better flow to your speech. And another thing which I think you could have done it better, that initially you showed a board with the schedule. It was, according to me, it was very short. Maybe you could have held it for some more time for everyone to see how busy you kept yourself during your summer vacation. Overall, I felt it was a wonderful speech where you took us through the journey, the expressions you used to describe the car crash, or the expressions you used where you were sleepy in the surgery and how it could have affected the intensity of those events. It was clearly visible and I could visualize it along with you while you were giving your speech. So well done with those expressions and showing your vulnerability that everyone is bound to make mistakes, but learning from your mistakes, implementing it, and then moving on in life, achieving a different path is what matters. So kudos to you to sharing those instances with us in such a beautiful way, and keep up the good work. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Hassan, you are the general evaluator.
Thank you very much, Ajita. Thank you also, Alasera, for reminding me that I'm general evaluator. The second speaker was Destin, who delivered his first speech. And his evaluator is a seasoned Toastmaster, I would say, Brendan. I would like now to ask Brendan to tell us what he thought about the speech delivered by Destin.
Give me one moment to shuffle through my phone. No offense to anyone else, but I want to see Dustin's face. Dustin, if this speech was the trailer for you, I want to pre-order tickets and be the first in line to see the movie. I'll even stay up until midnight to see it on that first day. This was wonderful in so many ways. And there's so much that I want to recap, which I'm glad I get to write an evaluation. So you'll get the unabridged version later. And I'm always curious to see what people choose to talk about for their icebreaker. And it's anything from a metaphorical story of being in a imaginary situation to a recap of what they do or where life has brought them to this point. And I thought that's where you were going in the beginning by saying I would describe myself as a man who is interested by science and engineering. And I thought it would take the natural course of you explaining about how you got there and your experience so far at RIT. But what you did is you took us through a table content of everything in your life that you enjoy and gives you passion. And in my opinion, this is one of the most well-rounded icebreakers I've experienced in a while. For you to talk about schooling and learning and a love of learning, and then going into teaching and loving to teach and also learn from your students, to be able to talk about music and learning the piano, these fiction books, which any engineer who can love fiction like The Count of Monte Cristo and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, that's an amazing, powerful person. So continue to read fiction. One thing that the one critique I had was you said, hopefully I'll graduate next year. I think you're well on the way. I've no doubt that you will graduate. But I think that word, hopefully, sometimes feels misplaced, but you absolutely redeemed it near the end when you were saying how you were an optimist dreamer, hoping for things that are seemingly impossible, but having the seeds in your heart of ending sickness, poverty, those are amazing dreams to carry in your heart. So what I wanted to encourage you with is when I got up there and gave my icebreaker speech, I was probably as nervous or more nervous than you. And what I've learned for myself and seeing other Toastmasters is every single person has a story worth telling, that their stories have value. You showed us tonight that you have an amazing heart, an amazing mind, and I encourage you to stick to the stories and find your voice through Toastmasters, because everything you recap tonight is everything people around you and in the world need to hear and experience and being a part of. Thank you for sharing tonight. I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brandon, for this evaluation. The third and last speech was delivered by Tanai, and his evaluator is, let me see, I can see who the evaluator. Grant, sorry. Grant is the evaluator. Grant, the floor is yours.
Tonight, let me just say that you had a great explanation of your communication style and how it affected others. I can definitely see that you are a supportive communicator, and it's shown through the months, or I don't know, have we known each other for a year at least? Yeah, a few years, a couple years now. It's shown. I really liked how you use your hands to show your guard, putting your guard up like this. I don't know if you can hear me too well when I have that up though, but that's besides the point. I do think, however, that you could have been even better by standing up. Now, I'm not moving my camera up to show me. I'm going to sit down, so I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here. But I think your body motions would have been better shown standing up, and you would have had more room to show your hand motions. But I really did like, even with the limited space that you had, how you use the guard for your hands. I also noticed in the beginning, I think your eye contact was really good. It was generally towards the camera, and it kind of looked like you were looking at us. But towards the end of the speech, I think I noticed your eyes moving to the side a bit. Maybe you're reading your script, maybe looking at something else, I don't know. But even though we're not in person anymore, I think eye contact is still just as useful and important in speeches. It helps, you know, it's even worse when you don't look at the camera. But if I look at you, if I try to look at you anyway, then there's some kind of connection there that helps the fact that we are online. As always, you look pretty comfortable giving your speech as well. Very laid back, and I think maybe that's helped by the fact that you're sitting down. I hope I'm not the only one who noticed, though, that at the end of certain sentences, you said a word that dropped off. Like the very last word of your sentence was hard to hear on a few of your sentences, at least for me. So please consider that, you know, a little bit of vocal variety there, just making sure that even over this online format, that all of your words get across well. Overall, though, I think your speech was pretty well organized. And in summary, I liked your hand representation of the guard, of having your guard up, but you would have had more room standing up doing that as well. And your eye contact was pretty decent in the beginning, but memorization of your speech, or just in general, forcing yourself to look at the camera definitely helps. and try not to drop off on certain words and go quiet. You were very comfortable up there, and your speech was very well organized, so I look forward to hearing your next speeches tonight.
Thank you very much, Grant, for this evaluation. Now I would like to call upon the functionaries for their respective reports. I will start with Matt Timer. Matt.
The timing today was fantastic. The meeting started a few minutes late, but we were back ahead of schedule by the time we got to the prepared speeches. Everything else was exactly according to the agenda so far. So overall, we did a great job. And for every single role, most people hit the sweet spot. There's only one exception where Matt Mack went 7 minutes and 47 seconds, a little bit long there, but everybody else did very well. So very well done. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Matt. Second functionary today is the grammarian, Xavier.
Lots of great things to highlight, especially from our prepared speeches. I'm going to focus most of my time there, but I have a few things in the table topics and evaluation sections as well. Starting with Matt Mack. You are a very visual storyteller. You like to put a lot of imagery in there so that we can imagine these scenes in front of us. And just to pick a few highlights, the car crash was one that I felt like you especially did good, as far as the T-boning and then the blood running down your face, that so many people have seen either car crash in real life, unfortunately, or at least on the movies, to really have that imagery connected to this toxicity of productivity in your case. Additionally, describing Freedom as meditating while headstanding is absolutely who Freedom is in one sentence. One quick feedback for you on the grammarian side is never say in conclusion, just end your speech. It's okay. Yeah, it's not an essay. Destin, absolutely loved your speech. Can't believe it was your icebreaker, that you were able to ask these rhetorical, not really rhetorical questions, because you asked the question and then you answered it immediately with a very thorough response of some stories that make me feel I know you so much better, especially describing that you have a loving heart, and then showing it very much so by taking abandoned children to the store. One small feedback would be that at the beginning of your speech, I didn't know whether the trailer was like a movie trailer or a car trailer. And it probably took me about 4 sentences to put it all together. So I think just a little bit more context clues of maybe like hitting the play button or something like that would have just made it more clear there if you were to give it again. Tanai, who's up next. The thing that I have that I really loved is you described this memory annex, which just to play on words, loved it. And then my only comment was you said maybe it's time to follow the rule of going on the Pathways website. And my answer is yep. Not very grammarian, but I needed to say it. And then a few comments from Table Topics Evaluations. I'm going to go on a down for Alex just because I know I can, that this is something that he does and I follow him into it because he does it, is by starting with the word so after a long pause, which is not necessary. And I'm sorry if I stole the odd counter's thunder there. And then Deb saying, this is so 2020. I need that on a shirt. And then finally, Brendan playing on Destin's clip to really encouraging right at the beginning that you'd be the first in line to see that movie. I loved it. Back to you, Mr. General Bag.
Thank you very much, Xavier. The third and last functionary today is Gaurav, who is playing the role of the eye counter for the first time.
Yeah. Thank you, General Evaluator. First of all, like I was about to say that this is my first role in Toastmaster as an eye counter. And when I was listening to all the speeches, I'm like, nobody's making the use of filler words. So am I hearing it wrong, or is it my role? Like I was having nothing to mark, but so there was no, you can say, filler words used in any of the speeches. But the most, you can say, frequent interjections used were and followed by but and so. And talking about table topics, Pritham used one and Deb used 5 I was so happy, Deb, to just mark it off that you are using 5 over here. And also so, and Alex also used one but and so. So that's it. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. Now it's time for me to give my overall evaluation of the meeting. I would like to start with the time. As the timer Matt say, we started at 6:32. We usually start at 6:30, but today we had 2 minutes. We were 2 minutes late. This is not a big deal because it's something that rarely happens at our meetings. I would like to congratulate Matt Benedict, who was today our timer, and he was at the same time babysitter. He had 2 hats today, so congratulations, Matt, for that. The grammarian shared with us a word I didn't know before, splendor, which is a really interesting word. Thank you for that, Xavier. Gaurav played the role of the eye counter for the first time. You really did a good job, Gaurav. Toastmaster today also introduced the speakers smoothly. It was well prepared. He did it with the evaluators. They took the time to tell us what the speeches are about and what also something unique about the speakers. Thank you also, Ajita, for reminding us at the beginning to turn on the camera. This is something that Toastmaster recommends to do. Helps the speakers feel more comfortable when they can see people in front of them, not in front of them actually, on the screen. Chitra was also our club master today. She really did a good job. I like it. She was club master at the same time. She also helped out with the poll. Thank you, Chitra. For the table topics, we had really interesting questions with Cyril. He also had a great introduction. But next time, I would like to recommend Cyril, because we have guests. It's always good to take 30 seconds to tell them what the topics are about. I would like not to talk about the evaluations. They were really positive and constructive. The evaluators, they really took the time to share with the speakers what they can improve. Just critique, I would say something I would like to remind the speakers. When you have something to recommend the speakers, you should limit your recommendation to 3. It's not recommended to go to tell more than 3 things to improve. You can, after the meeting, you can talk with the speakers and share more about what he can improve. Last, I would like to talk about the speeches we have today. 3 speeches as usually. It's something we may find trivial, but actually not all the clubs have speeches every week. So I would like to congratulate all the speakers who volunteered to deliver a speech, and also the evaluators, and also Xavier, who's working to make sure we have 3 speeches every week. I also like the fact that the speakers, they shared personal experiences. It's something I find inspiring. For me, this is not something easy, I have to tell you. It's not easy for me to tell about myself and my personal experiences. So I always like when I see someone like Matt or Tanay or even Justin share their personal experiences and then tell us what we can learn from them. This is all about my evaluation of the meeting. Thank you very much. Back to you, Alasera.
Thank you, Hassan. for being the general evaluator. And now the most exciting part of being a Toastmaster is knowing the winner of the table topic speeches. May I have a drum roll, please? And the winner of the table topic is Pritam, who is not here, so I'll chop his chocolate on his behalf. Okay, let's welcome our president, Hassan. Hassan.
Thank you very much, Alasira, for being our Toastmaster of the day today. And thank you to all the speakers, the evaluators, and the functionaries who helped us throughout the meeting. I would like to have two guests, I think. I would like to ask them to give us some feedback about the meeting. I will start with Behasia. What do you think about our meeting?
Right, so hi. Oh, sorry about that. I'm Jaeja, and because this is my first meeting, I think it was very encouraging to see that everyone was just so supportive, no matter if you were a speaker or a grammarian or an evaluator. I think that gave me a lot of courage about joining the club. And it was also very encouraging. I would have never known that the speakers were giving icebreakers because everyone was so courageous. And like Destin, I'm also a shy person. So I sent Destin that private message and I was like, I think you were absolutely great. I thought all the speakers were great. So I really enjoyed this meeting.
We have our meetings every Wednesday at the same time. So I hope next week you will be with us and why not joining the club. The second guest is Idrissa. Idrissa, I would like to have your feedback about the meeting.
Hello, everyone. My name is Idrissa. I'm from Niger. I'm new to RIT. So I just come from Canada. Like I was doing a master's degree there. So when I come to RIT, like Hassan welcomed me. Then I told him that my goal of like joining the RIT is to develop my my personal capabilities. So I told him by doing so, I would like first to improve my public speaking. Then he told me about the Toastmasters. You know, I can't even spell the word correctly. So he told me like he's actually the president. So he invited me to the meeting like since last week, but I'm sorry I missed the meeting. So I'm in quarantine. I can't be on campus. So like today, I really enjoyed the meeting. Like I see like it's something very constructive. So like giving the speeches and then receiving feedbacks, and then like everybody is like is behaving like one family. I really like it. So I can't wait to join. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Idrissa. I hope you'll join the club as soon as possible. As he said, he is also from Niger, where I'm from, and I'm really glad to have you in Rochester. Thank you all. This is the end of the meeting. I hope you will all be there next week for our Toastmaster meeting. Thank you very much.